Guys, so today I have my February TBR for you, and I read 5 books in January, which is a record for me. This is a really good reading year. This year, over the summer, I read a ton of books, and I did a lot of vlogs, and I did a lot of book reviews and hauls, and I definitely reviewed a lot on Goodreads, but I didn't continue that throughout 2014, and so by the last half of it, it went down. I've picked 2 books that aren't really Valentine's Day. I like to pick books that are kind of related to the month because it's kind of seasonal. I really regretted not reading Christmas Carol or something something Christmassy around Christmas time. One book specifically for the February theme, which is Valentine's Day. The first book that I will be reading is Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. And out of all of the Rainbow Rowell books that I have heard of and read, which is currently Fangirl and Eleanor and Park. Eleanor and Park is beautiful, and please read that. I don't know if this book is good, but this is amazing too because I love Rainbow Rowell, but Fangirl was really good too, but Eleanor and Park was just it was so heartwarming. If you're looking for a Valentine's Day read, definitely read Eleanor and Park. But if you already read it, or you were just sick of the typical teen romances, this is a really cool twist on a romance. I've only read the back, and that was a while ago, so I'm a little shaky. So Beth and Jennifer, they start talking about stuff, and they have really hilarious emails, and they discuss tons of stuff about their lives, and they're just really funny. And meanwhile, the guy who's in charge of observing these emails falls in love with one of these people, and he's like, oh, by the way, that the top says, hi, I'm the guy who reads your email, and also I love you. If anything's a grabber, that's a real hook for me. I mean, you don't really read that often. So that's what this will be. It's also kind of a moderate read. It's not as long as Eleanor and Park or Fangirl. The next book that I plan to read in February is Agent 6 by Tom Rob Smith, and this is the 3rd book in the Child 44 series or trilogy, and this book or this series is incredible. Coming from someone who didn't really read historical fiction at all until maybe a month ago. This is a book that is set in Russia from Stalin's era to Khrushchev's post-Stalinist era, and this one is the final book, and so I clearly don't want to spoil anything. The trilogy itself is centered around a Moscow secret police agents named Leo Demidov. I still can't pronounce his name, but Leo, and it focuses on his family and his wife, and kind of his experience in the secret police, and then there are downfalls, and there are clearly ups and downs. It's a roller coaster ride, and in the 2nd book there are gulags, and in the 3rd book there are conspiracies across 3 decades, which is kind of tough to do in a book. It's pretty thick, but even so, 3 decades is a lot. He has this amazing way of bringing this is a repetitive thing that I noticed, so it's not just something that is in this book or in the 1st book or the middle book, or 2nd book, but he starts off with a premise, and he has this really seemingly insignificant scene. So he has some sort of scene, and then later on it all ties together and it makes sense, and you're oh, this is the same, whoa, look at the connections, and it's actually a book of connections, and the more you read, the more intertwined they become, and that's why it's so hard to not keep reading it. He has a gift in that sense, and he has a gift in a lot of other ways, such as making me like historical fiction. So if you're a history buff, or if you just want to give historical fiction a chance, start with the Child 44 series. I will link the reviews and summary from Goodreads down in the down bar, because it's very good, and I highly 10 out of 10 would recommend. The book in my February TBR is A Clockwork Orange. First of all, look at this cover and tell me you're not intrigued, because I'm very intrigued. We have to read this for school, but regardless, this is on my TBR for quite a bit. I'm thankful that IB English classes really incorporate tons of books that I genuinely loved. There's not one book, I think, besides maybe Wuthering Heights, which like bored me slightly, but even so, it was really interesting, and I really don't know what it's about. I know a friend of mine read it and he loved it and he was like, it's a really funky book, and I've heard funky and like weird and strange used to describe it. It's a satire on the distortions of the single and collective minds, according to the New York Times, and it's a brilliant novel, also according to the New York Times. It like works with language a lot. Apparently, from what I've heard, it's a mix of English and sort of made up gibberish, and I tried to read a chapter from my friend's book last year when he was reading it, or not a chapter, like a page, and I was so confused because like you really need to decode it. It's not one of those like, oh, just flying through, just skipping some words, just getting like reading the centers. No, I don't think this is gonna be that kind of book. I'm gonna read the back really quickly, just so you know kind of what it's about. It says, A Clockwork Orange is a frightening fable about good and evil and the meaning of human freedom. And when the state undertakes to reform Alex to redeem him, the novel asks, at what cost? End quote. This edition includes the controversial last chapter not published in the first edition. Actually really interesting because I like editions that have like either interviews at the end, not like guiding questions because I usually don't look at those, but interviews are really cool, like previews of future books, which the Agent 6, the Child 44 series has, which I love because you get really excited for the next book. They're all books that I will be reading in February, and I will update you on progress. I already have my Goodreads linked on my channel, so if you would like to follow my reading progress, I post like daily, or whenever I read like a good chunk of reading, I will post an update on the percentage that I'm at with the book, and then I usually do like a star review of like every book, and then I will review, like a detailed review, and make a video review of the books that I really enjoyed or the books that I absolutely detested. I'm definitely going to be reviewing the Child 44 trilogy, so go and read those books, and then I can talk about them, and spoilers will happen, and they won't be spoilers anymore because you'll know. So if you want to be able to watch like a good chunk of that video, you're gonna have to go read that series. Also, it's amazing, so you're not gonna regret it at all. I am going to go, and thank you very much for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Bye!